There is a moment that almost no one warns you about. It arrives quietly, without drama, without a clear event to point to. You improve your life. You become more disciplined. You think more clearly. You make better decisions. And somewhere along the way, you notice that the room feels emptier. Conversations feel thinner. The laughter doesn't land the same way it used to. You are surrounded by people, yet you feel strangely alone. This is not a failure of growth. It is one of its consequences. Most people imagine personal growth as an addition. More confidence, more clarity, more control. But growth is also subtraction. It removes the parts of your life that were held together by unconscious habits, shared coping mechanisms, and mutual confusion. When you change, the invisible agreements you once had with others quietly expire. Friedrich Nietzsche understood this long before self-improvement became a market. He believed that most human connection is built on similarity of weakness, not similarity of strength. People bond over shared fears, shared excuses, shared ways of avoiding responsibility. When you begin to outgrow those patterns, you don't just change yourself. You destabilize the social equilibrium around you. This is why growth often feels isolating. You are no longer speaking the same internal language. The things that once excited you now feel loud and shallow. The conversations that once felt comforting now feel repetitive. You notice how much of social life is structured around distraction rather than presence. And because you see it, you can no longer fully participate in it without feeling dishonest. This awareness creates distance. Albert Camus described a similar experience when he wrote about the absurd. The moment when the world no longer explains itself the way it used to. When the scripts fail. When the old meanings collapse. Growth places you directly inside this tension. You see more clearly, but clarity comes at a cost. You can no longer unsee what you see. You are not lonelier because you are worse at connecting. You are lonelier because you are more selective about what feels real. There is a subtle grief in this stage. You mourn versions of yourself that belonged more easily. You miss the simplicity of shared illusions. You miss laughing without analysis, believing without question, belonging without effort. But returning is no longer possible. Once awareness expands, it does not contract. This is where many people panic. They interpret this solitude as a mistake. They assume something is wrong with them. They try to force connection, to shrink themselves, to re-enter rooms they have already outgrown. And when that fails, they label their growth as arrogance, coldness, or emotional detachment. But this solitude is not a punishment. It is a transition. Nietzsche called this the space between the camel and the lion, the phase where the old values no longer satisfy, but the new ones have not yet fully formed. It is uncomfortable because it lacks structure. There is no applause here. No social validation. Only the quiet work of becoming someone who no longer lives by borrowed meanings. You begin to realize that fewer people understand you not because you are superior, but because you are different in orientation. You are facing inward while most people are still running outward. You are questioning while others are consuming. You are slowing down while the world accelerates. And this creates asymmetry. Growth makes you less compatible with environments that thrive on noise. It makes small talk feel heavy. It makes performative optimism feel hollow. It makes constant stimulation feel like avoidance. This is why the loneliness feels sharper at your peak than it ever did at your lowest. At your lowest, you needed people to survive. At your highest, you need fewer people to remain honest. Camus never offered an escape from this condition. He offered acceptance. To live without false hope. To stop demanding that life feel comfortable in order to feel meaningful. Growth does not guarantee happiness. It offers coherence. And coherence is quieter than pleasure. Over time, something subtle shifts. The loneliness loses its edge. You stop interpreting it as rejection and start seeing it as alignment. You recognize that depth attracts depth, but slowly. That not everyone you lose is meant to be replaced. That solitude is not emptiness, but space. Space to think clearly. Space to choose deliberately. Space to build a life that is not crowded with noise simply to avoid silence. You are not broken for feeling this way. You are not cold. You are not antisocial. You are not failing at life. You are simply ahead of your old environment. And this phase does not last forever. New connections form. Fewer, quieter, but more honest. Relationships built not on distraction, but on resonance. Until then, the solitude is doing important work. It is teaching you how to stand without leaning. How to exist without constant reflection in others' eyes. You are not broken. You are just awake.